It's 5 after 6. This is time for our June 20, 2016 Board of Directors meeting for the Board of Civic Authority. I'd like to call it to order and ask everybody to identify himself, herself.
Zelda Commercial Executive Director is here.
Tom Gillen.
Ken Stevens.
Kirk Coates.
Jerry Brown.
Linda Dean.
Greg Shanley, attorney.
Terry Hamill. And we have two guests also. To let that Zell would introduce them.
Joe Mosiero from Bowers and Company.
Lester Bird from Bowers and Company.
The first time on the agenda is the consent agenda. Motions in order to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Mr. Gillen.
Second.
Mr. Coates. Does anyone have a question about any item of the consent agenda? All in favor of approving motion 620-1601?
Aye.
Opposed? We pass unanimously on those voting. The second item on the agenda is a presentation by our auditing firm, Bowers and Company. I'd like to turn this over to Zelco and to our auditors.
Great. Thank you.
I am moving out of the way.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for having us back this year. We really enjoyed doing this audit. It's a client that we have a lot of respect for and really think you have a great business up here. It's great to be back here. We appreciate the opportunity again to be part of this. If you don't mind, I'll stand, just a little more comfortable with the PowerPoint. If it makes anybody comfortable, I'll sit. So I'm not going to bore you with some of the, what I would call obligatories. If we want to jump more into the numbers, but you have an unmodified opinion, means you have a clean opinion, no unusual accounting policies, you have certain disclosures that we would say are more highly important than some of the other ones that we'll get into later. Your responsibilities for the financial statements are really no different from any other year. We didn't have any findings this year, no significant findings, which meant that things are working pretty well here. One of the things that we're required to disclose to the board is what's called significant estimates. Now, significant estimates, all this means is accounting estimates, items on your financial statement that have some subjectivity to them. The reason you need to understand this at a board level is this is where certain companies would manipulate their financial results. And if a board is unaware of estimates, you can manipulate earnings either way. So two of your more significant items is your post-employment healthcare liability, which is a big number. And the estimate of the liability right now is $411,000. A quick note on that, and Lester, jump in if I miss anything on this. That number comes from an outside actuarial service. Okay, so if you updated every 3 years. 3 years ago, there was a service done, there was an evaluation done, and the number was $800,000 higher than that. The current actuary came through and said the prior one made some mistakes, looked at some of the items in that lead up to the numbers inappropriately, and adjusted it. So you have an adjustment at $800,000 to the liability. The other side of that goes to your net position, essentially your equity balance. So just so you should know that. Depreciation expense, for most companies that's a pretty straightforward number, but this is an area where you see companies as they start to have poor results will manipulate their depreciation because it's a way to easily get income without cash. Your numbers obviously look pretty comparable year over year. That's an expense that Debbie does not book during the year, so you don't see that during the year on your financials. It's booked at year end because she has the outside accountants keep the depreciation.
Yeah,
I'll turn it over to Lester to talk about some of the more significant adjustments.
and just touch on that, a lot of our clients do that because depreciation software is not cheap.
Right.
So for something, you have to pay that annual expense to, when it's just simple, we could do it very simple at the end of the audit. It's a pretty good deal.
Seems to make sense. What this schedule shows is where did we start when we got the numbers first from Deb, and where did we end up? So it gives you an idea of what isn't booked in the months that you see financials and what type of adjustments need to be made. And as Lester goes through them, you'll see that they're not ones that Deb normally would make anyways.
Yeah, the first one we kind of just briefed on, the annual OPEB adjustment. That's just a number the actuary comes up with, and then we book it when the report comes in. Next one, New York State pension costs. During the current year, GASB rules changed, and you actually have to record a small little liability for your piece of your state employees' state employees' retirement benefits, so you have to put a little small liability on the books for that. Legal accrual, that's just accrues some invoices that came in later. Depreciation adjustment we talked about. Grants receivable, that was simply an adjustment just to match up the cost with reimbursable expense due to other guys' state grants. And then the final one, capitalized and report cost. We took the position to take all engineering costs and kind of put them on your balance sheet and fixed assets, kind of like an investment to start.
So you can see net income went down about 220,000 from when we started the audit to when we booked all these adjustments. Financials, I'll let Lester go over. This is your balance sheet. So right now, we have a draft financial. The report is due by the end of the month. We're still waiting on a couple pieces of information, and we'll wrap it up this week. So in the meantime, we'll give you draft numbers, but the numbers really, we don't foresee changes.
There will be no changes. So just to recap, let's hit some of the high points of your balance sheet. You guys are a highly capital intensive business. As you can see, 16 million.
Sorry, trying to get fancy here with the point. So try to keep you awake, we'll put a red dot on it.
So you have 15 million in fixed assets, which is up over 2 million from the prior, mainly due to all the capital products that are going on here. Track work, pier work, new conveyor machine was a significant purchase during the current year. And then just a couple other items to note, your assets, your cash positions up at the end of the year due to a good financial year. Your receivables are down slightly in total, but that has to do with the grants ending. So you had the tire grant full swing last year, and the New York State DOT grants. So the current year, there was only 44,000 in receivables to book as compared to last year, there was 374,000.
But your assets are up about 2.7 million year over year.
And then you can also see, if Joe can click back for a second, so you guys ended up with 1.4, almost 1.5 in current assets. And then you got about $1 million in current liabilities next year, so you kind of have a surplus working capital of 500,000, which is up significantly compared to the past 2 or 3 years for you guys to pay obligations and stuff going forward.
Working capital is a number that probably most are familiar with. It takes your current assets minus your current liabilities. The theory being, if you had to pay all your current liabilities tomorrow, how much in current assets do you have that you could liquidate to do that? And you have a great delta on those two numbers.
And then just to kind of touch on some of your long-term debt, New York State retirement. Each year you guys get an annual bill for your state employees. You can either pay the full amount or you can pay a discounted amount. In prior years, I believe due to cash flow considerations, they elected to pay the discounted amount and then you pay over 10 years. Paying a little bit of interest on top of that. So in the current year, that was paid in full, so there's no additions to it. The next one, mortgage note bond payable. That's a mortgage and note payable to the hammer mill property over there, and pending that transaction, that'll be wiped out, hopefully in the near future. And then your next two, due to New York State, which was from your appropriations from way back when you guys received money with to start to build up the Port of Oswego, and that's interest free, and you pay $50,000 a year on that, just in principal. And to note, the contract on that was up in 2005.
There was a bill. There was a bill. Yeah, originally, I'm not sure what happened. I know it said it was really late. I'm not sure what happened.
Which we were in favor of, that would have just
Wait,
it
the
out.
state was just waiting.
That would have been.
That would have been.
Is that still pending?
I don't know.
It was in the hopper, but it all.
Yeah, I know it was in there, the last I heard.
They're gone now, right?
But they just finished, so.
Apparently had to court both.
And then the last one, the post-employment healthcare, that's actuary book liability at year end, and we note that's a non-funded plan, so you pay as you go. And then, so here to kind of sum it all up, you have positions up significantly from the prior year, which kind of shows, the main indicator of how you're doing.
$2.5 million.
Then this last piece is just a snapshot of your guys' income statement for the past 3 years. So you have a nice trend in operating revenues. You had a huge one in the current year with the rocks, the storage for the break wall. Then also, you can see operating expenses only went up slightly as compared to your total revenue.
Almost
Continues to
flat.
decline.
Is that year to date, the 16?
Yep, yeah,
Yep.
year over year. So almost flat on the operating expenses, up almost $1 million.
And I like to present like this because these
I'm not sure that question was. That is,
2016, is that figure?
that's the end of the fiscal year.
Yes. 12
June's
months.
fiscal
that's
year,
15,
or April
16,
fiscal.
so April 1st.
Okay.
Sorry, April to April, yeah.
And I kind of segregated them like this, so you can kind of see this is cash expense. These are your non-cash items. And the last one, 62,000 is your interest expense for the year. So that kind of brings you down to positive 520,000 from operations. Then you have a significant grant activity during the current year, finish up the tire grant and the New York State grants in process.
And, you know, as fair as person as I am, I have to tell you, Bill Scribe has been doing a fantastic job with the labor, and it's basically managing our costs, and we don't do it just to be difficult, we do it just to remain competitive. So he's been doing a good job on that. We don't get them all, but we certainly try, and he's been on it. I mean, he's been out there every day, and he's been really getting involved in the operations. He's been doing a good job.
I agree. Another thing Bill, what I was just going to mention on is he's very good at writing these grants. That is a big, I mean, I tried to recruit him for a couple boards. I'm honest, like, hey, if you have any interest in dogs or anything like that. Yep.
But the story here too is obviously you got a tremendous increase in your operating revenue, kept your expenses essentially flat year over year. So you've got, if you look at it from a business standpoint, a net profit versus prior years of net losses. So that's a great trend, great story to tell.
And basically, it's all on you guys. What we do with that money is we invest it back into the facilities. You look around you, new pavement, new lights, new railroads. It's all infrastructure that we need for the next 10, 15 years. And infrastructure that we sorely need is in repair. And we still need more to do, but we have to call that money to put it back in. And it's an overall good team effort, from the board on down. It's all cooperative. It cannot be coincidence.
So we just have some comments that we come across through doing the audit, and they're just suggestions. They're not areas where you find any mistakes. You know, when you're switching, you switch cars with CSX. It's typical for ports, obviously, to do that with whatever Class 1 brings the car to the port. It's also obviously typical to get a switch fee, $75, sometimes $25. But you're making this, you're incurring labor, you're performing a service. They get their fee all the way to the end customer anyways, they're just not sharing. So to the extent you have some negotiating power with CSX, which probably is very little, but we would encourage that you could start to explore the possibility of getting a switch fee with the cars you're interchanging. On the storage revenue, again, this could be a challenge, but, and this is common the way that you bill your storage, but you look at the end of the month, you take a physical inventory, and then you bill for your storage. What could happen is you could have large volumes that you're storing throughout the month, and then those volumes leave the facility near the end, and you don't get payment for those because they're not on hand at month end. So you could look at some options of possibly billing storage twice a month, fluctuating your rates so you're not double hitting your customer, but you're getting the effect of any volume increases. Be a little bit of work. On the just internal side, in Deb's department, a deposit scanner, it's very common with the bank. Right now, Deb will go to the bank and actually physically make deposits. It's just a machine that the bank would provide you, do it right at your desk. It goes into your bank instantaneously, so there's less flow. Debt modification, Lester, why don't you hit on that real quick?
If the sale doesn't go through, you have
Number one property.
of the Amarillo property.
Right.
You have Pathfinder debt as 5.3% and almost 6% interest rate floors. So it can never be below that given the current interest rate environment, we kind of felt the potential to save there.
Sure.
If,
Yeah.
obviously. And usually what you do is you approach the bank and ask them for debt modification. That way you don't have to go through the whole refinancing process, get appraisals and all that stuff.
It's a small fee, a lot of times the fee is, the payback on the fee is less than a year. That's if you don't think the property's gonna go through. I'd like if you want to take the last two.
The next one, just encourage, it started last year, I believe, with prior accountant's suggestion, we kind of agree with them. Continuing to develop the procedures manual, just because you never know if you're gonna have employee turnover or if anything happens. Just that way, there won't be, be a smoother transition.
Yeah, it's a small office. So when anybody's out for any reason, you want to be able to continue to function and carry out all the duties. So the more the people are cross-trained, there's good instructions, people can find files, etc. You put it in a manual, and then you don't miss a beat when you have changeover in personnel.
And the last one, the scales office downstairs. So currently, truck comes in, they punch it in their system, and hard code on our system, and then that's sent upstairs to Patty. We just want to kind of revisit, you guys started already that process, but possibly get that automated and we'll rate in QuickBooks, save Patty some time.
And they're just adjusting to see if we can save administrative time, same with the deposit scanner.
So is it manual or manual?
Does it have to be
Oh,
written
yeah.
in Spanish?
We like to throw typos in.
Just
You caught that one. There's other subliminal pictures in here later.
Just a quick question with the cross-training. You may not have any answer for this, it just occurs to me. Are there civil service implications in taking individuals who have particular civil service positions to start cross-training them so that the activities would be
It's general. It's a good question. There's general office and there's 3 probably different people doing accounting type functions, so you'd probably be okay with cross-training.
I just wonder if you've seen anything about that or heard anything about that or knew anything about that, had it come up anywhere disruptive.
Yeah, I don't see that there'd be an issue here. The functions are fairly similar.
It would be better for us. if
Right.
We had some understanding that there might be some issues, so that we wouldn't be surprised.
Right.
We never felt.
Yeah.
I think what Joe is after is, it's, right now we only had one person able to collect a check,
Yeah.
right? And then when that person is out, we're out of check writing business, right? So now we have 2 people that know how to do it, right? And then it's only one person that can do accounts payable. When that person is out, they can get litigation, we can pay themselves. So we have carefully cross-trained. But you're right, if you really look at positions, they're different classes, different ratings.
Well, I hate that
Yeah.
something you can avoid just by
Right,
having understood clearly before.
right. But the people that are involved know that they have to be cross-trained because they equally have frustrations. There was an incident where that was undergoing medical issues, right? And she was out and we needed funds. And I literally had to write my own check to go to court because nobody else could. So, we avoided that from now on. I think you know how to do it. But that was pretty embarrassing.
Could you go over just, Joe, just one time, that first page with the 800,000?
Oh, yeah.
Is that money that's been moved to someplace else, or?
No. It's a book entry. And so an actuary will look at your employees and your retirees and make an estimation that you owe a certain liability. It's
In
an
other words,
estimate.
for retired employees?
Right. It's a
Okay.
post-retirement health benefits. And so the new actuary looked at it and felt that the number was overstated in the past. There's no way to know until you start, people
Well,
retire. and start paying.
800,000 is 2 times as much as 400.
Well, because the prior actuary included spouses which weren't included and supposed to be included in the calculation. So that's how double.
So it's not money that's actually been moved?
No.
It's just
Or
projected?
spent.
Or spent, okay.
Right.
It's future revenue, future money we have to pay in.
And pay into
the pension system.
And eventually the error would catch itself many years down the line when you don't pay that number out because you don't really owe that number, the old number. And so now it's more reflective of what you would really owe.
Because of accumulation,
Mhm.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Couple other quick comments, the marina. There's some, I guess we could tighten some of the controls, some of the process over the billing for boat repairs. We looked at the operations and felt like most of the revenue streams are pretty well controlled. Boat repairs is one of those items that could use a little more attention. Just filling out timesheets and keeping track of what gets spent. I don't think there's a huge dollar amount on the table, but you just don't know. Credit card fees, you could probably look at bidding out the service to see if you can get a better rate at this point. You may also want to explore, can we do a cash versus credit pricing at the pump? But right now, your fees, I believe you're in the 3% range, and you probably could get that a little lower.
And you should always see some smaller companies too, because you guys want to have the volume of transactions to really get that discounted prices that you go with. I think it's World Pay, and they are included, they include all these companies together, and then they have the contracts with the credit card companies.
This is the particular marina gas sales, we're not, a lot of people use a credit card, majority of our sales are credit cards. So now they have the credit card company participating in 2%.
Do we use subcontractors for boat repairs? Because I see there's a $1,600 on the Impress Fund going to Northern Lights Boat Repair.
Correct. We'll use subcontractors, we use some of our own, depends on what we're doing. And, what they're after is, we could improve some of the controls. Right now, a lot of this is manual entry, and basically, we have to chase people down to get bills. So that's what they're after. We want to automate some of this.
So the controls are,
They're right. I mean, we have to improve it. I mean, they're absolutely right. I mean, we have a guy that has a box on the desk with all the bills. That doesn't work that way.
okay.
And that's something I'm nervous about, and I'm glad I mentioned it.
Well, I would just point out to people who may not know, it wasn't so long ago, the port had no control over boat repair at all. Anybody that a marina could hire anybody to come in and work on the ship.
But I'd hate to see this grow and grow and grow without the main office knowing what was going
And
on.
we do know what's going on. I don't want to imply that there's any hanky-panky going on. There isn't hanky-panky. We're making good dollars. The cost for us, for a mechanic, is even 40 to build them out in excess of that. We just need better control of it. We gotta make sure that those invoices get in on time. We gotta make sure that we correctly correlate the repairs with the invoices that we have. And frankly, we're not losing any dollars and cents. We're not. But at the same time, it's a tremendous convenience. And the chairman's right. We didn't have any of this revenue before.
Okay.
This is a potential for us, if we do it right, we have the right system to really capitalize on it. One thing I do want to mention this year, and then they didn't talk about it, but I'll tell you what I did this year. And we, not I, because I don't use the I too often, we negotiated a great fee on the gas prices. I practically get a discount of the rack prices. If you look at the marina prices, there's some really good prices out there for gas and diesel. And those people don't know it, but because we were able to beat up the oil companies, we get a better deal here. And you look at I looked at the diesel today, just a couple of cents over the pump up the block. That's a great deal. They don't know what a great value we're getting. We're comfortable with the spread that we're getting, but still, they get a great deal out there. And that's because we were able to go out to the companies. We have the volume that can command a better price.
And this whole concept, not more than a couple of figures,
So it's
the port being managed, meaning the marina being managed as a part of the port as opposed to just as some separate business that's not related to the port.
Well, I'm not trying to, you know.
Not everybody understood that.
Yeah.
The port, this is a whole new kind of approach to operating marina.
And we are managing. Do we have a perfect model? No, we are close to it. We just want to get a little bit better. When I spoke to Joe and his partner, they're right. I like to have a system where we automatically enter it, and then we have the costs that are associated with reports track it. We get it. We now have to do it manually. She has to do a lot of work.
I have one more point to make, just to back up what's up. The way the marina has been operated historically as a customer base, and when you make big changes, there's a built-in resistance from the customer base. So you gotta go through this in such a way that everybody sees in the final analysis, this is the best, most efficient, most effective way to operate, and get everybody on the same page and everything, good feelings about it.
It's a complex environment. We're the only ones with fuel right now on the lower lakes.
Is that right?
And people just look at the pumps and says, oh, why aren't you cheaper? They forget all the costs, all the insurance, all the docks. I mean, one of our pump outs, a little simple pump out, vacuum pump, went, it was thousands and thousands of dollars before we replaced it, right? And the $5 that you get when somebody pumps out, it's not even worth the effort to replace it, but you have to provide good
Replace
service.
that?
You know,
Well, so that we replaced that?
yeah, 20-something, yeah, it was.
This just kind of jumped out at me.
Well, no, by all means,
You know,
those are all good questions, I mean, yeah, by all means.
Yeah, but if you're selling fuel, better have all the other amenities.
Set up a full service marina.
Yeah.
Questions, comments?
Good suggestions.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
Very last
I already wrote some down.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, next item. Item 3, reports. Executive Director Administrative Services Report, which is contained in Exhibit C.
You have to redo it.
Oh, excuse me, I missed that motion, I apologize. Everybody had a presentation. Just, yes, we're still, one more item, to approve the 2015-2016 annual audit as presented by our auditing firm. Motion's in order to approve 06/2016-02.
so moved.
Mr. Brown. Is there any further discussion, or are there other questions? All in favor of this motion?
Aye.
Opposed? It is unanimous, opposed. Chairman, now we go reports. Executive Director Administrative Services Report, Exhibit C.
What I have to show you there is, and I'll just go through it, and when you leave today, you can take a look. When you came in, you noticed all the railroad work that we're doing, all the excavations that we're doing, we're replacing all the tracks, all the switches. We are also automating the switches to the point where we're building automatic heaters. They'll correlate with the weather. As the weather gets colder, the heaters will turn on, so it eliminates ice chipping, eliminates all that damage in the wind. We anticipate in another 6 weeks or so it will be complete. And what that will do is, more or less, the entire pavement system around the perimeter docks will be new, and all the railroad tracks in the facility will be new. Should survive for another 50 years. Definitely outdo me, right? It's been a lot of work. It impacts our operations a bit because we don't have the traffic patterns we want. The customers have been patient. I'll tell you, it has resulted in some minor squibbles because we get stuff out there. We have a lot of volume, and given the volume of construction work, there's some compromises. But overall, it has worked out. I think 6 weeks is over and everything is done. There'll be a lot of happy people around here.
So what happens to the replacement track?
Good question. Replacement track, replacement wood, and replacement base. The base is retained by us. The track, the old track is the property of the contractor. The wood gets disposed of properly, all right? Yeah, but the base itself, the rocks, are all being stored by us to keep it. It's ours. And so we keep everything.
So we got all new base and everything.
Everything. Right. You have to. All new base, all new ties, all new all new spikes.
Spikes.
Yeah, all new switches, all new operation systems. It should make for an easier operation, especially during the winter time. It'll improve operations. But yeah, we keep that, the exception of the track. The track is the contract. For security, as mentioned, we are tweaking the system out there. It's not running exactly as we like it. There's that second reader in there. The system is operating, but not to the level that we're comfortable with it. There's still too many manual entries, and we're trying to eliminate manual entries. We're trying to make them automatic, and we're still not there yet. If you look at the accounts payable, I have not paid the contractor. I've been told the payment to the satisfaction. We have submitted for a number of grants since we've been so successful. We're looking at some new modifications to the current gate as you know it. We're looking to push it outward. So we submitted for $204,000 grant, but we would modify the complex, and that would give us more storage, give us more queuing, and we push the perimeter of the facility over to the gate. Right now, you have to basically come in. You don't belong here. We have to turn you around. Right? You just want to eliminate. You don't come in at all once you belong here. So that's what we're doing. We feel rather good about it. I do want to tell you we submitted for a large grant in our Oswego Intermodal Center, and that was for. We have all new trackage out there as well. We own one property. We're looking to acquire some other properties. The grant that we were after was a $9 million grant. No railroad grant, no commercial railroad grant was selected this year by folks in the transportation. We did not get it, but I did speak to the state this past week, and it looks like we can use some of the monies that we got out of our larger money pot for the Intermodal Center, for this Oswego Intermodal Center. That will help with the benefit. And the idea there would be, just in case you're here on the street, we are going through an approval process with the city, with the county, where we would put in the Oswego Intermodal Center. We'll secure it, raise a berm, provide some parking, and provide for a waterfront type of a structure. We still have issues with kids accessing Flat Rock. We still have issues with kids interfering with operations. And I just don't want to be here and be injured somebody. I don't want to be here when somebody gets injured because they don't belong. They tend to underestimate how quickly the trains move. They tend to underestimate. They think people in the equipment can see it. They can't. They have large car components. They can just see from one side. They don't see it both sides. And we came close a couple of times, and we chased some kids away. If the kids are there, we chase them away. Not that we want to be tough. We just don't want to get hurt. But we are looking to provide an alternate to quote-unquote Flat Rock, an alternate park. And we're in discussions with the current mayor and the current city administrator and county to do so. I do want to tell you that we had, in case you haven't seen it, I think it's kind of neat to see. I'm not sure it's the best system, but we do have some new ships this year. The aluminum now comes by barges and ships. Some of the ships have the beam unloading systems. They're wonderful when they work. They're not so wonderful when they don't work. And we had a number of instances where they haven't worked exactly.
It wasn't real day.
That was here the other day. It was here about twice as long than it needed to be. A number of issues. The ships are here to stay, and that's why I tell the labor folks, the ships are here to stay for various reasons. One, they're twice as fast as the barges, and they're twice as fuel efficient. So, from a financial perspective, they pencil. They make a lot of sense. But they have to improve the unloading systems. I mean, what it does, it's you have people on the ground, people inside, and you have automatic cranes that do the shifting. In this instance, the cable was worn and twisted, and the computer just went on frets. And of course, we have all the labor here, and once you get the labor, they're here for 4 hours. So the company's going to make sure that we're not financially hurt. But we're concerned about the last couple of days, and they lost a couple of days. So we have to make up for it at the end of the year.
There's the ship's problem.
Yes, yeah, definitely a ship's problem. A ship loses about $50,000 to $60,000 per day. My point is that ship was scheduled to go back and come back, now we're getting impacted, we don't have necessary cargo here, right? So we may lose that, we're not gonna lose it, they're gonna make it up, and they're gonna add another voyage to the ship, the system, but the ship is even longer, would be an issue. And I have to, you know, as tough as I am, the bad reputation I have out there, I'll tell you, the island did a wonderful job, they really worked with us. I mean, and you can tell the seasoned folks from the unseasoned folks. They've been out there. Our numbers are pretty solid numbers, even though their system is lousy again. The ship problem, but yet it's our problem because we didn't pick them at the end of the day.
So we're incurring labor costs while the ship's sitting there not working,
And I'm going to be billing the entity
and
for it.
can we call somebody for that?
Yeah, of course we will. And they know it, we notify them, and, you know, they're not gonna, we don't like to, we prefer doing other things, but if I have to incur the costs, they're gonna go for it. And security costs and everything else. I think Scriber was
Sure they
here.
bill us.
Yeah, oh yeah, they're not shy about hitting us when they need to, right? So likewise. That's what the graphs are in here, you see the graphs attached. And it's good that you see this table of contents because it leads into another item. Traditionally, we've been used to the names like Marubeni, Glencore, Concord, RTA, and a whole bunch of other Trafigura and Goldman Sachs with aluminum. We did have a meeting with World Bank. Imagine Lois Sweeto actually dealing with Singapore, dealing with Finland, dealing with people in England, talking about all those aluminum ingots out there. All those aluminum ingots, believe it or not, are traded on a daily basis in the New York Stock Exchange. It was when this fellow originally approached me, I kind of gave him a cold shoulder because I know our customers. I didn't think he was our customer. But the folks are now doing is actually hedging their aluminum against market fluctuations. And they use the World Bank to hedge. So the World Bank may take possession of the aluminum for a week, 3 or 4 days, right? And this particular fellow is just barking orders at me. I want you to go out there, change the labels. I want you to go out there, count this. I want you to. I said, wait a minute. For 3 days, I'm going to go out there and count all of this? Ends up, he's right. And I know he's after accounting procedures, accounting mechanisms. And we actually met with him. I think the chairman was there with us. He understands. For 2 or 3 days, I'm not going to go out there and change every label. I don't have enough labels in the system. But all he wants to do is that when he trades that block of aluminum on New York Stock Exchange, he just wants us to account for it in our systems so that we can pinpoint where it is. We know exactly what he bought and who he bought it from. So we have a really decent computer system. When it comes to
So the ownership of the ingots
Changes.
actually changes hands
on a weekly basis.
while it's here on site.
Sitting on our site, yeah.
Is there any way we can get a piece of that action?
Yeah, it's called a customer. No, we get a piece of action. I mean, we get a piece of the action. It's such a small amount of money that's only made up of volume, right? We get storage. We get, you know, when we load it, we get a percentage of that.
Based on the suggestions that Bowers and Company is making about billing twice a month.
That would improve that. Yeah, that would improve it. It also entails more work on our part.
Yeah.
Because now we have to get bills ready and everything else. So there's always that. I mean, what I was after, this was a rare moment actually, because usually I would ask that sort of question, but in this instance, no, I was after the bigger pie. Aluminum this year for us is flat, and it's flat because we lost certain rail car revenue. I was after. I'm going to give them that exchange. I'm going to give them all that bookwork that we do. I'm going to pick a piece of the pie. I'm going to get a bigger number. I'm going to want it to go up even higher. And that's what we're talking about. That's my main. That was my main concentration effort. And hence, you know, the couple of cents that I would make, it'd be a kind of nightmare. I would rather go after a higher volume and bigger numbers. Let's face it, they also have to make money as well. The percentage, and banks do this all the time. Banks split into bank funds and they make money because it's such a large number, and it's 0.01, whatever it is. So we have certain agreements with them. I think Terry can talk a little bit about it, and he's quite a character actually. I mean, you would never think he was so powerful. But what struck me here in this town would appreciate it. Here you have this Port Oswego, just to coordinate a conference was a nightmare. Because you had to have somebody from Singapore, which is a totally different time zone, somebody from England, totally different, right? Somebody from Finland, which is all the way up there, a guy from Greece, right? Oswego? Where's Oswego? Port of New York? Ah, you understand what Port of New York is. But just think of such a small town reaching out that far in the world. To me, it's quite awakening. I know Mike is reviewing some of the contracts. He had certain concerns. He was great. I mean,
Well, they wanted everything.
Yeah.
That was a one-sided contract, or we'd have to go to London and actually arbitrate and do this. Their laws of London, England would control. No, I don't think so. So they gave him the most of it.
yeah, Mike was awesome. We did a lot of work there. But there's an item before you. My point in bringing it out to you, we have reached the world levels of trade. One of the things I have to report, obviously, I was out for a couple of weeks. I was in Antwerp, I was in Ghent, and I was Luge. Basically, you have to get out and trade. It's amazing some of the places that you see. Ever since the event, I've been quoting nonstop. I'm quoting on things like beer tanks, of all things. There's more beer tanks coming here than we can shake a stick at. There's a lot of wind power, apparently.
Fireworks.
Fireworks, I'm being very kind when I say fireworks. Some other stuff. Yes. I'll do anything as long as we can make dollars. And what's important is that they see you, that you're out there, that you can communicate with them, and that you get back to when you tell me you're going to get back to them. I think it's crucial. Yeah, get back to you never do if your reputation suffers. They look at us as a way to penetrate the New York market, particularly and some of these odd commodities which they can never get through New York City. They can get through us. And I'm old enough and smart enough to know, yes, I'm quoting all these things. If I get half of them, I'll be doing backflips in another way. I'm not going to get every one, but we're quoting an awful lot. Part of our issue, and I'll show you more specifics in the executive sessions, is our costs. Our costs are up there. And I'm competing against others whose costs are lower. So we make a lot of it up with labor efficiency, but you can only make up so much of it.
Yeah.
And then, a lot of it is appearance. We have done a lot. I don't know if you've noticed. I know I'm tough. I mean, the facility looks clean. It has to look clean. Because when that customer walks through that gate, that's what he looks at. How are you treating the cargo? How are you treating my cargo? Is it just tossed somewhere in the corner? Or is it well laid out? You know what you're doing. Everything's clean. You can point. When I ask you where my cargo is, you can point to it. You can tell me where it is. We tend to be in that area. I mean, our guys downstairs are fabulous. We know exactly where the cargo is. We can point the customer in the right direction. People are very polite. We still have some work to do with some of the others. There are some people who have a problem with their words, and you can't tell customers off. I mean, the option just doesn't exist today.
The eyesores are going too.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I mean, yeah, well, I mean, we improved, as Mike points out, we improved a lot of that. What else do I have here? We do have the conference coming up in Toronto, which we have to get back to the Toronto conference. We do have a lot of work, a lot of contract and litigation issues we have to discuss in the executive session. And I'll show you some of the concerns where we, and some of the recommendations. But overall, extremely positive. Extremely positive. And it's just not just my work, it's all of your work. Because if I didn't have the support of you guys, I wouldn't know what I'm doing. It just rains downhill. It's an example of your efforts. I want to tell you that Terry has been awesome. We both have insomnia, to prove that, but there were some tough moments, especially during the legislative session. support me to hold me up when I get down, but it's, we'll discuss it when I can get some guidance from you guys. That's all I have.
I want to make just one additional comment. The name slips me of our office worker downstairs, who's like the big fellow.
George, which one? I'm sorry.
The meeting with the war maker.
George Lloyd.
Oh,
Yeah, George Lloyd. Yeah, he's fabulous.
He was, this our employee downstairs. Sat in the meeting with bankers from World Bank who was asking just huge numbers of questions, detailed questions. And when it dealt with how fast can you do this, how much work can be done by the labor forces, how much X, Y, or Z, he just kept asking questions. And then George unfailingly gave him articulate, correct responses. Now then he give the right answer. How long would it take to fill up a container, a truck? How do you get this stuff off? How do you pilot? This process with asked questions about the operation. And I didn't tell him that because he left. I thought he was just spectacular.
He's really good at that.
That fellow whom I had never talked to before
He's awesome. He has been
really impressed me. And he was not embarrassed by anything he said. He was not. There's no question he didn't have an answer for it. And it was clear that the banker was also very, very impressed. Not only with him, but with him as well. So it was just amazing. I really was surprised and very, very pleased about it. And I didn't tell him that.
no guy. I mean, George is awesome.
We separated before.
He's fantastic. And that's, I gotta get, he does the work, now I have to have the labor actually act the part. As you know, some of our aluminum goes to Dallas, some of our aluminum may go as far as Texas, some of our aluminum may, depends where they go. They sell it all over the world. So what the guy was asking, if I sell so much of it, how quickly can you get it out of here? Right? And if, because it's aluminum for them, for them it's cash, right? It's big heavy cash, right? But it's cash, right? Because it's an asset. And if he holds it, and if he needs, he pays debts with it if he has to. Or he'd rather not do it, he'd rather resell it and so on and so forth. I mean, they may hold a piece for a couple of hours, they may hold a piece for a couple of weeks. I mean, tremendous accounting, a couple of hours. Imagine we hold a piece for a couple of hours.
Oh, I believe it.
I mean, Paddock doesn't have enough time in the day just to keep up with it. It's a full-time job just to keep up with it. I mean, how do you bill for a couple hours in a month? I mean, 0.05 cents by the time you bill it. But he does it over such a large volume that it makes sense for him. He was very positive. He basically told us that he sees aluminum growing rather rapidly.
I should also say he speculated effusively that when he sees with the Port of Three is much brighter, much more happening, much growth. He was very impressed with what he saw, and he told us flat out right in front of the yes. This is the sweet.
Any comments?
Yes, but in that instance, even I'm personally liable for certain things as an executive officer. And the first, I mean, I'm the one that's on the chopping block. You know, if they can't find something, I mean, actually named there. That's what my guys are do. But actually named as a liability form. And so it's you didn't get the big fancy office, but you also get a lot of headaches with it. It's you know.
Growing pains too. I mean, it's
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, nevertheless, I mean, that's one of the items that's here, but that's it's a positive item. That's what I wanted to mention. That's all I have.
Any questions? Questions for that? The next on the agenda is a chairman's report. It's going to be very brief. I gave everybody, Patty printed this out for me. And it was supposed to be 2 sheets of the 2 sheets of paper back in front, you've got, I don't know how many other sheets of paper, double spaced and everything. She's
I don't know.
she just brought it out and brought in here. So it's probably not severe enough to reflect on our next year's audit.
Daughter sewed useless paper.
But Patty and I decided we should be able to use this to make some notes, if you need to make some notes.
Sure.
I intended to give you these 4 sheets of paper. 2-sided.
College.
4 sheets of paper, 4 pages of 2 sheets of paper. Sorry. I emailed this page to everybody. I'm not sure if everybody has had a chance to see the email or had a chance to read it, but this is a very, very significant document. It's been 3 years in the making. Titled Governors and Premiers, the title of the email, Governors and Premiers Release of Maritime Strategy. This is a report that's taken 3 years. It's involved all of the state governors of all of the Great Lakes states and the premiers of those Canadian provinces as a large studying group and buoyed up by their own individual experts and expertise. And the title of this is A Strategy for the Great Lakes St. Lawrence River Maritime Transportation System. This is what the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence River system is intended to follow as a plan for the future. I don't want to dwell on this except to encourage you to look into this, because what you see in this document is why you're here. The Port Authority, why you're here is Executive Report Authority, and what will happen, what is the general idea for the future of the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence vis-a-vis transportation issues and materials and mechanisms. So I gave you the title, I gave you the table of contents, the 42-page document, and I gave you a copy of the executive summary. And the executive summary is very clear, it's quite complete, but it's buoyed up and backed up by the 42 pages of the entire document. It's worth looking at, even if you don't read it word for word. It's worth looking at. It's worth reading the executive summary and committing it to some thought for the future, because it really is a plan for the Great Lakes St. Lawrence into the future. It has involved a great deal of effort on the part of all the Great Lakes states and the Great Lakes provinces.
And this is developed in a conference last year in Chicago, and then we talked about, it's basically a blueprint of how we're going to grow. And it identifies, the opportunities, it identifies the challenges, and it identifies the necessary investments. And there's a lot of thought given to the document, and at a minimum, at least if you can give the executive summary, we should definitely read it.
They're right.
Yeah.
Where is it? Right on GreatLakesSports.org?
No, I gave it to you. I sent you this email.
It's an email, it's an email.
Yeah, but I'd like to look at the table of contents here, 2.2, season optimization.
That's what it said on your email.
Oh, you did,
And on
okay.
this page, this isn't how, at the bottom, there's a click here. It's a link to the whole document,
Okay.
40-page document. Now, if somebody really wants the document in hard copy, I'm sure that can be provided.
It's rather extensive.
But it's not worth having it printed out 42 pages for 8 or 10 people, half of whom are not going to read it. If it's something you want and you really want to have a chance to study it, I'm sure Patty would be happy to print it out.
Yeah, ask her she'll do it, and now they have some trouble with your machine, so.
Oh, it's okay, I'll read this up.
Yeah.
If you take that email, look at this, put it on a umbrella. So that was, I just wanted to alert you to what I found was a really important document that gives us all a good idea of the reason for our existence.
Its own folder. Put it in its own folder.
Yes, it's almost like a business plan.
Well, you look, yeah, exactly.
So that really is a summary of the chairman's report. I just wanted to address this issue if you can, because it really is important.
I think the attorney has a lot to say, right? The attorney's going to want.
The attorney's Attorney's report is the next item.
Nothing for the regular session.
Attorney's report will be apparently.
We have a lot to discuss.
Did you warrant the closing of that property to make sure that our spreadsheet looks decent?
Right. What do you want, 18 months? Real quick deal.
Okay. Next item, there is no old business to my knowledge. Is there any old business that's under under new business? There is an item called discuss and authorize the executive director to enter into a commodity services agreement with Standard Chartered Bank.
And that's the World Bank that I discussed. This is the one I'm working with Mike in a couple of letters. And it's basically an agreement between the board and mainly between me and the bank. And it has me doing certain things and certain obligations. And Mike
You're
has.
not gonna start trading commodities, are you?
No way. I'm actually not allowed to. That's one of the other things that I'm not allowed to do. Because I have certain knowledge I'm not allowed to. And thank God, I don't know anything about that side of it. But I'm not allowed to enter into any of that. And then there's concerns about theft. There's concerns about this whole section about theft. And so thank God we have personal direct liability. If I can move that 2,500 pound aluminum ingot, all of you guys should be running. I can even. The agreement is such, they are looking for it, they look for our insurance clauses, those are provided with those. Mike has some final comments, we're gonna look at it, and you gotta sign it if you don't sign it.
And they're only minor things
Yeah.
anyway, that just have to be addressed, and nothing that's going to really change the substance of the agreement as far as that. But it's just a couple things that need.
Yeah.
So I think we're asking for approval, subject to
Yes.
final approval.
Yes.
My side.
So how do you want this? With this is to discuss and authorize.
Yeah, authorize, and just put in a subject to
Council,
attorney-
council,
certification.
to council, approve the document, that I can execute the document subject to council reviewing it.
Yes, good.
Yeah. There's only a few small
Right.
items.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Do the board of directors members feel they have to read the final document?
I can definitely provide it if you, it's about 40 pages. It's pretty extensive. And it definitely, it outlines all the procedures we just talked
What
about.
kind of deadlines do you have in this?
Yesterday.
It'll be out this week.
I have to get it out.
Yeah.
Zelko, is there a fee for joining this commodities?
No, we're not, we have to have a license, we're not even licensed.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not even.
This is an agreement to just handle their stuff how they want it handled.
Okay.
That's all it is. Yeah. They're the ones that trade it, they're the ones that do all these things. People don't know how to even get into that.
There's no J-Cope or conflict of
No,
interest
no,
or
no,
none of that?
None. The issue is, this is an agreement between the port and World Bank and all the people who are associated with the business of owning and trading ingots. All we do is handle the ingots, store the ingots. And they want certain things done in certain ways, and we have to agree to do those things that way, subject to their approval or their disapproval. The whole agreement will be based upon that stuff alone.
It's really a procedural document. Each one of those ingots has a serial number. Each one of those ingots has a composite number. Each one of those ingots has a material composite signature. They want to make sure that when they sell a particular ingot, that I deliver that particular ingot. I don't deliver the one they did the project.
One of the reasons is there was a big, and I wasn't aware of it until the guy was telling me. There was a big scam in China, which billions of dollars were being made on pieces that were just being moved around. And it looked like lots and lots more was owned than was actually on hand. And they hadn't kept track of it. And billions of dollars was lost because billions of dollars were based upon the expectation that this much existed, and only this much existed, and they were just playing.
This isn't gonna put us in any
Nothing.
conflict with the aluminum?
Quite the opposite, we're doing a lot more work for them.
Okay.
Do we keep all ours separate from
Yes.
everything else?
Each one of those, if you take a look outside, board, took years, and have nothing better to do. You'll notice each one of those ingots has a tag on it. Each one of the tag has an owner associated with it. Each one has a serial number, and each one has a weight. You keep all those tabs upstairs.
Now, over Gibbons area,
I know each one, where each one is, the shiny ones, what they do, that's a certain composite. And one of his comments was that this Gibbons area needs to be secure.
If we enter into this agreement, you're not gonna have to worry about having to relabel 1,000 ingots or something like that. are you?
If he really wanted me to do it, I'm gonna have to do some of that.
Well, that's one of the things we negotiated.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
They're separate, but they, I mean, what they wanted was, you know.
Every day.
Every day, report.
Well, we should be paid for that.
Yeah.
He's told me, I won't do it, I won't do it for nothing, I have to pay. We can do it, but we're gonna get paid.
And then the guy goes, no, okay, fine,
They just wanted us to sign that agreement as they prepared it. And if
He wants a freebie?
litigation, we had to go to London, go to England and litigate and stuff like that.
Mike was great. I mean, between Mike and I, we were just looking at each other. The poor speaker is subject to the laws of England.
I think it was a kind of a conflict.
I don't think so. We're part of the state of New York,
That's
we're subject to a lot of state of New York, not something else.
No, they were very agreeable once we pointed out these different things. That they probably hoped we would just sign it as it was, but.
Guy asked a question about, do you know where everything is? And Chuck said, I know where every ingot is, I know who, where the number is, who owns it. He says, well, there's one ingot. We don't know whose it is. There's one ingot, but we've got it and we know where it is. Nobody's ever requested about it, so it's not labeled, we don't know exactly whose it is, but we know where it is and we can provide it.
Somebody's gonna claim it one day.
So the guy started chuckling at the rank honesty.
I'm not gonna.
We got everything except one.
Can that increase volume, you think?
Yes, long term. I'll discuss a little bit more in the executive session. We have some decisions to make.
So the motion as it's presented is to discuss and authorize the executive director to enter into a commodity service agreement with Standard Chartered Bank. This would be an agreement that has already been reviewed.
Subject to attorney
Subject to
approval.
attorney approval.
That's part of it.
Does anyone have a problem with that issue? Then the motion is in order to approve motion 06-20-1603.
I'll make a motion,
Here, we'll discuss the authorized executive director to enter into a commodity services agreement with Standard Chartered Bank. It's 06-20-1603.
Subject to attorney approval.
Subject to attorney approval.
motion subject to attorney.
Subject to attorney, can we do this without, we don't have to have a separate motion for this. Is everybody agreed to add that on?
Oh,
As amended,
As
as
amended,
Jerry amended it.
subject to the attorney's approval.
Yeah.
All right. Now, did you do that as an amendment?
Yes.
yes.
All in favor of the amendment?
Need a second? Need a second.
Second.
I'll second it.
All right. Excuse me. This is the amendment, this is to approve Jerry's amendment to the motion. All in favor of this, of Jerry's motion to amend this motion as presented with the word subject to the attorney's approval. The motion, all right, all in favor of that amendment?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion to approve that amendment, it has to be 1603 day or however you want it. All right, that's right. So now the new motion is to approve the motion as amended.
Correct.
The motion's in order to approve the motion as amended.
We get you.
No.
We're getting.
Motion is in order. Does anyone want to offer that motion to approve this resolution as amended, as just amended?
Choose Jerry, your amended motion.
Can I do that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Brown, is there a second?
Sure.
Mr. Coates, is there any discussion? Motion, are all in favor of the motion as amended?
Aye.
Opposed? It carries unanimously by the vote.
Yeah.
1603A. We are subject to having our actions surveyed by and and reviewed by the state agencies, especially the Attorney General and Controller,
1603, 1603A.
okay? All right. Other item of new business is sponsorships and donations. And this item is number 6, discuss and authorize sponsorship of one team in T and green sign for 2016 Greater Oswego Fulton Golf Social.
Retroactive.
I'm against it.
Retroactive.
That was actually the golf tournament that we went to today. It'd be nice if you would approve this.
Vote it down, no way.
We'll be passing the hat.
4 of us played, that's a majority, okay, aye.
All right. So we have motion 6/20/1604, Exhibit D. All right,
Retroactive.
retroactively, motion
I'll make a motion.
motion is to approve motion 6/20/1604. Mr. Gillen makes that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Coe.
Did you have any personal interest in that?
No, not at all.
You any relation to this guy? You haven't played that?
No,
Any further discussion? All in favor of this motion, which makes legal the golf tournament?
yes, definitely.
Aye.
Opposed? You just saved the saved the executive director of growth and benefits.
Yeah, it's, you know what, it's,
This was stuff that was scheduled for a previous meeting
Right.
that we postponed.
right, that's,
We did not bring the trophy.
And we didn't bring the trophy
Bring
home.
the
We
next
did,
one home.
we did do a reasonably good job. We thought for a while we were amazing to be below par.
I'll bring it
That
home.
only lasted for a while.
They hate to say so.
He was a big factor. He was a big factor. Next item, sponsorship. Discuss and authorize sponsorship of one team and one hole for the 2016 United Way Greater Oswego Chamber of Commerce, Greater Oswego, United Way of Greater Oswego County Golf Tournament. That's in July.
Yes.
We have the 2 tournaments we played, United Way and Chamber. Today we did the Chamber. In July, last year we had 2 teams.
Is there a chance of 2 teams?
Huh?
Yeah.
yeah, I have no, I didn't get any personal feedback, so one team for now.
I wonder why.
It's entirely possible that another team could be added if we get the information, because they are holding a team for us, a space for us if needed. They know we're.
Retro that next month for you too.
Yeah, we'll retrofit that.
That's part of the order.
Okay.
That'll be an issue.
Not to exceed 2 teams. Put in there, not
To
to
exceed
exceed
2 teams,
I
yeah.
think they're holding it for us anyway. Right.
But I think not to exceed 2 teams.
Let me raise this question.
Semantics.
No, I changed my mind. Come on.
No. Right.
Just leave it over here. Go ahead, I can handle it.
Discuss it. So right now we're on hold. They're holding a place for us, and they expect us to do this. We generally make these tournament donations for 2 reasons. One, the one we had today, Chamber of Commerce. We're a member of the Chamber of Commerce. You cannot not support the Chamber of Commerce. And United Way, we've supported United Way for many years. And United Way is, you all know, a very important organization. And United Way then contributes resources to other subordinate organizations beneath the United Way. And we sometimes get requests for donations from organizations that are funded by the United Way, and we usually do not grant those requests because we have already made a donation to United Way, which in turn transfers some of the donation to those organizations. So this is good for us, it's good for our community just to at least participate in this for goodwill. And it does provide some financial assistance. These are golf tournaments to raise money for those organizations. So this resolution is motion 6/20/1605 for at least at this point, 1 team for this tournament.
So move.
Mr. Coates? Mr. Brown? Any further discussion or question? All in favor of this resolution?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. And now we have a request to move to executive session. There's a motion in order to move into executive session for purposes of discussing litigation, some contract negotiation, and related matters that are associated with the major suborders. Is there a motion to move into executive session?
So moved. I'll second.
Mr. Gill and Mr. Brown. All in favor of moving into executive session?
Aye.
Opposed? We're now in executive session.
I make a motion.
All set?
These will be quick.
Motion's in order to move back into regular session?
So moved.
Second.
All right. You got it? Mr. Stevens, Mr. Coates? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimously approved. Any other order of business anyone wants to bring up before this body? Motion's in order to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Brown?
Second.
Mr. Coates? All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting stands adjourned by unanimity.
Unanimity.